concise in terms of that value proposition. But then a watch out then not to go over too excessively in terms of your technical jargon and lengthy explanations, because as I say, this individual or individuals may not be totally familiar with your sector. How to present your business. Do highlight your team, highlight and showcase the strengths of those individuals in your team and what has brought you to the table today, because that's what they're buying into. They want to have the reassurance that the people that are going to take this proposition and this idea and concept forward are the right people to invest in. You want to show some traction and milestones, even if it's a short period of time. You want to show some growth. You want to show what your success has been, the things that you've done differently. Any customer testimonials will really help with that as well. And another key thing then is don't ignore the competition, because they probably will put you over who else is in the market, because at the end of the day, they might be competing for this investment as well. So make sure you're aware of them. And while you're not kind of disregarding what they're doing, you need to explain why you're different to them. So then engaging with the investors, going back to what kind of talked about on the first slide, you know, it is about showing your confidence. And in the Irish business community, we're all very, very modest, and we kind of shield ourselves behind all the good work that we do. But on this occasion, you need to step up. You need to be confident about what you're talking about, convey your passion, and but be humble with it as well. Be prepared for questions, potential questions that you might be asked in terms of the size of the investment that's required, any gaps that you might have in your team, what's holding you back, challenges that you may have had. Just kind of go through and think of some responses that you might have. At the end of the day, this is just like an interview preparation. And don't be defensive. You know, if they do question you, challenge you and push back on certain things that you come up with, take a deep breath and just respond as eloquently as you can. Closing the pitch then, have a clear call to action, know what you're looking for, and have that ask, you know, whether it happens to be investment in product development or marketing, or, you know, increased human resource around your venture, but make sure that you're very clear in terms of what you're asking for and why you're asking for it. And again, back to knowing your numbers. They will put you over this, so make sure that you understand what your cash flow is and your margin. I kind of guess if anybody has watched Dragon's Den or a version of it anywhere, that's kind of how this is going to feel for you guys. So do express gratitude at the end of the pitch, you know, that they've given you the time, even if it doesn't go anywhere. It's your reputation here that you want to convey going forward, and you never know what might happen in the future. Okay, so that's me kind of concluded. I think I've just about coming up to my 9-minute mark, Bobby. So hopefully that's all good. And I'd like to open the floor for any questions that anybody might have. And I'll just come off the share then as well.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you. So folks, any questions? So you can either type them in, or you can virtually raise your hand, and I should be able to enable your microphone. Sure, everyone's proficient at the arts of pitching.
Anybody, any questions?
You might get away with it, Lisa.
You can put me on the spot now.
I have one question. Is it okay if I?
Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
Niels.
Also Flanagan here. I'm just wondering, it's any tips on balancing that, you know, the way you can feel defensive if your little sort of project is sort of really sort of, you know, they're really burrowing down underneath, or sort of you feel undermined. Yeah. How do you manage that balance between being defensive but also being, you know, assertive and confidence in say your numbers or your approach or your idea?
Yeah, I think take a deep breath, you know, is the first thing, you know, and trying to get your mindset in the right place for it. And I think then, you know, whenever you're feeling that kind of in that kind of defensive mode, I guess it is about absorbing, you know, what they're saying to you and trying to reframe it in a more positive light. You know, so if they're kind of challenging you and saying, oh, you know, we don't think that your product is first to market, you know, we've seen that elsewhere.
Yeah.
So maybe a response to that would be, well, you know, it may not be first to market, you know, in Ireland, but it's certainly first to market within my business, and it's something innovative that I'm doing. So trying to kind of and model it back to them, so you're giving a positive response to that kind of their kind of challenge back to you. So that's just, you know, an off the hoof, for quite a quick example of trying to reframe what they're saying to you.
Yeah, I think what you're saying, that reframing piece is key in the situation.
Yeah, and it is tough, but I mean, I think take your time to think about your response as well. I think
Yeah,
that's fine. Just kind of like, I need to take a minute. Let me just digest what you've said to me before
yeah.
I come back with a response.
Okay, that's
And
good to-
also, actually, if you don't have the response for them, just park it and say, look, I don't have that response for you right now, but I'd really like to think about it, and I'll come back to you afterwards.
Yeah. Okay. Good strategies. Thanks.
Okay.
We have another question there, Alicia, that came in from Dennis Hurley there. Can you elaborate a bit more on the relevance of the team?
The relevance of the team.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess it depends what approach you're taking to your pitching and what your ask is. So if there maybe is a gap in your team, so say you have a team and your gap is in marketing perhaps, so you could reframe the pitch to make it kind of convey that that's where you're looking for the investment, because that's the thing that's holding you back. So the team structure is obviously really important, and I think then, to just build on what I'm saying, it is identifying the gaps and not being afraid, excuse me, to open up about if there are gaps in the team. But absolutely showcasing the people that have kind of brought you to this junction in terms of your pitch and the strength behind them, because that's what's going to motivate the investor to take you forward, because they're buying into people ultimately. Excuse me. Hope that's okay, Dennis.
Stefan, you have a question there. Just see your hand.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't find the hands
virtual.
on, so so I'll raise my hand physically. Really interesting, Lisa. Thank you for that. You mentioned at the end one of the important bit, which is at the end of the day, they are going to invest in you and your business. So you as I'm interested in understanding how you play this, because obviously we know that the most difficult part of being a startup is in particular the build-up of the team in particular. So it's not just about you as an individual, but actually you as a team.
Yeah.
I'd be keen to understand really, and again, it depends really at what stage you are into the pitching, but is how you really convey our money around the team in particular, because that's usually what falls down in a longer term with teams.
Okay. So I mean, if you've got, if you've got a team around you that is, kind of the reason why the business has grown or developed in the way that it is, the approach that I would take to that is kind of the storytelling approach. Try and kind of switch on that little bit of emotive storytelling about the journey that you've been on. And I think that's something that we don't do probably well enough, to really kind of convey, the nuggets of gold that our team kind of have helped to bring us to this journey. That light bulb moment whenever you're all sitting around the table having coffee and somebody decided, I wish we could have a solution to whatever the problem is, and that's where it started. I'm trying to think of an example. I mean, I work with a tourism business, and their team was very fundamental to what they did through COVID, because they kind of pivoted what they were all about. They were a wedding venue, and they realized that there was no weddings. So what were they going to do differently? And it literally was, they sat around a campfire and they kind of decided, well, like, why don't we have, like a foraging experience, and why don't we build like an outdoor cookery school, and let's have a camping. And it was just the kind of the creative and the innovative conversations that they had that kind of pivoted the business. And I think it's important to convey to the investor that if your team is very much a part of your journey that you've been on, what different conversations did you have that brought you to the place that you are now, and kind of have that storytelling piece around the team. Hope that helps to answer it.
Yeah, no, really good.
Maybe
Yeah.
not,
So
just not
storytelling,
getting too technical.
no, storytelling, really good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Any other questions, so folks, before we move on? Just conscious a small bit of time. Okay, so right, next up we have Adriana de Camargo from Kerry Group, and Adriana will be talking about pitching from an industry perspective. So Adriana, just to welcome you.
Hi, Bobby. Thanks everybody for having me here. Let me share my screen first.
Yep. So if you want to put it in presentation mode. Yeah,
Can you
perfect.
see?
Yeah, we can see. Great, thank you.
Good. Thanks again. A pleasure to be here enjoying this webinar. Today I'm sharing with you a different perspective. Although, Lisa, you have lots of things that you say before that I also have in my presentation. So I try to see if I may reinforce what you say or maybe bring a different angle here. So my background, I'm a food engineer. I work more than 30 years in the food industry. My accent, you see, I'm not Irish. So I am Brazilian. I left my country almost a decade ago now. I work in different roles in R&D and innovation. So currently I am the lead for open innovation in the Carry Group. And then here I'm talking about Carry taste and nutrition, not the Carry foods. Do not know how much you know about Carry, so I'm taking this opportunity here, maybe 2 minutes to show you. So a company that started around 52 years ago now in the west of Ireland. The company started like in a dairy co-op and grew up to be today 80 billion revenue company in the food ingredients. So Carry is a global. We have a big innovation center. Not sure how many of you had a chance to visit us in Naas, in County Kildare. And also we have centers all over the world, a big one as well in North America. So the Carry today is not only in dairy anymore. We still have dairy proteins and plant proteins. The big focus today for the company is taste. So and also food protection, proactive health, enzymes. So there was a shift from the beginning on the dairy today for a more biotech approach. The company has grown through the past 50 years through lots of M&As. We are very proud to be serving the food industry market now for so long. Giving a hint for the ones that want to talk with Carry, make sure that you talk about sustainability. So the mission of the Carry Group today is to create a world of sustainable nutrition. If I can translate to you this in a simple word, it means living a healthy life in a healthy planet. We know today our lives are not that healthy, and our planet, don't need to say how unhealthy the planet is today. So through the development of food ingredients and through the delivery of the positive nutrition and all in implementing many of the strategies for us to protect the nature or to work in circular solutions, we also have a mission here to defend the planet and use the best we can the resources. So how do a food company work in innovation? How do a food company like Carry work in innovation? So when you're coming from outside, I think one of the first things that I want to say that there are different teams inside any company doing different types of product development. In Carry, we divide our innovation in 3 ways. We have our teams that is working with the food industry because we produce food ingredients. This team is doing application innovation. So this team is using the portfolio that we have now and apply that in our day-by-day. So they do lots of, for example, reformulation of food products. There is a team that we call more science innovation. So this team is working in making, would say, an early stage, more research. And this team is developing, for example, new technologies or new processing or maybe a new portfolio of ingredients. And we have also the technology innovation team that work more probably in the processing. So when you want to talk to a team, it's sometimes difficult to identify in a big company what is your main touch point. So the first hint that I give to you, ask if they have an open innovation team. Because normally open innovation team, that is a team that will work internally together and you try to identify who is the best team to talk to. So open innovation, like my team, we have, for example, a governance way. So we have internally identified what are the gaps of the technologies, and we know what the team is looking for. So getting a presentation to a R&D team that is looking for something take you much quicker for delivering your message or bring your technology for them. So I think identify what are the needs, what Carrie Group, for example, is looking for, and then this is I think it is a good one. And talking to the Open Innovation team. So in our case, is our team and the part, not only myself, other team members as well. Lisa, so she covered quite a lot of things that I'd like to say, but there are the key elements that we want to see when you have a presentation. But first of all, I'm not an investor in Carrie. We don't have like a ventures team where we are investing. So my team do technology innovation and evaluation of technology. So the pitch for an investor is different than a pitch for a R&D team. So when you come and talk to us, for example, this is important to know your audience, like Lisa says. So when you're speaking to people that is doing technology evaluation, you are going to see people that are understanding more deep in what you want to bring. So probably I will have somebody that is an expert in enzymes. So if you are introducing a new ways to make enzymes, so make sure you have with you somebody that has that knowledge if you don't have yourself. Strong value proposition. So what are you trying to solve? What is the problem that you are trying to solve? For us is very clear. Sometimes we had in the past a startup that come to us and they love their technology, they love their innovation, they love what they're doing, but they cannot clearly explain to us what is the problem they're trying to solve. Sometimes they know, but they do not know that other solutions can do that maybe much cheaper than what they're trying to achieve. So understanding and highlight your unique selling point, I think that's a very important thing to do. If you have, and I think that is good, show that you know the market, show that you know where you are playing, right? Understanding trends, consumers, and competitors, I think that's important as well. If you bring a solution for a very small market, maybe for us is not that important or is not that a priority. So understanding which problem are you solving and how big is this problem, right? So how big is as an opportunity it is. Understand your business model. And if you have many business models that, for example, you want to license your technology or you want to produce yourself, in this case, your product, and our company, for example, will be your commercial arm. So think about that. If you're open for anything, outline that you're open for anything, but have your clear business model and explain to us, well, how do you want to go to the market? What do you want to achieve? What's your ambition? I think all of this is critical, but sometimes is not always present. Team expertise. If you're talking to R&D people, it's important for you to bring your best teams. If you don't have them or with you, tell me who is your advisor. Oh, I have somebody from a university that is my advisor. So for us to understand who is supporting you is always good. It's bring also more a good reputation, I could say. And this is also help us to trust more in what you're telling us that your technology can do. Another thing that came to my mind now, in the food industry, normally we need to do a pilot. Sometimes we have very good presentation, somebody that brings a technology that can solve a problem. But till our team get hold of a sample and bring to our lab and try to reproduce what you're saying to us your technology can do, we cannot 100% agree with you. So it is very good that we are able to talk about How are you going to test my technology? Which formulation are you using? Which conditions? What is your processing, etc. So I think there will be a very good speech, a theoretical speech that what your technology can offer, but also remember that we need to see that as well internally. And as soon as we see that, then we bring our relationship, I would say, for the next level. Another thing that, what I show you, what is good, but is even better if you can share real life examples such as successful trials on application. So tell us who have you been working before, show what you were able to achieve. Engaging storytelling, like Lisa said to us, that is important. Of course, it's here is important to us as well. Clear communication. Please, this is so simple, this is so basic, this is a skill in presentation, but this is still important when you are talking. Confidence and passion, Lisa talk about that. I will not repeat that, that's important as well. Visual appeals is good, of course, not too much, but ensure that your slides are clean. You can use charts, you can use infographics related to food trends, market data, or your experiments. Make sure that when you have your experiments, you show that in a nice way as well. Let me see if I forget anything. I think so far that's it for now. I'm open here for any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adriana. Yeah, interesting point you made there. The one, especially for someone that's pitching to large companies to understand your audience, you know, to ask for the open innovation team. That's really interesting. That point there you made. But yeah, thank you very much. Any questions, so folks, for Adriana? Just in case people can't find the virtual hand, you can type in your question, or you can raise your hand physically, and I'll keep a lookout on the screen. Joe, how are you,
quick
Joe?
question.
Yes, Joe.
Thank you, Adriana. That was super interesting, and definitely, excuse the pun, food for thought. But I was just curious if you're on your journey to embrace AI, or in particular Gen AI, particularly large language modules, to capture, I can imagine, the significant amount of and volume of data that's generated from your processes, particularly in R&D. In fact, we're doing a survey at the moment to the industry to try to identify the needs and help automate or make the capturing of this data more efficient. But my question is, how do you view this, or are you on this journey towards this transformation into understanding its potential?
Yeah, inside Kerry, we have a team called Digital Transformation. This team is getting stronger and stronger every year. We started the digital transformation in our internal systems first. So the customer experience can be sampling, can be in communication, can be sales, can be payments. So I think the first wave of digital transformation was the low-hanging fruit there. We know that our teams in operations and factories are starting also the journey. So, for example, I'm open innovation and you have a system or you want to talk to. So through us, we can direct you to be what is the right team to talk, and then exactly what your team can do. As part of the food business in R&D, we do have a person today inside the digital transformation that is that person that is helping us to translate about what is possible to do. We do not know yet what's possible to do. We know we have been discussing lots of things about data. So every time I use a new system, do I need to share all my data? So maybe the company will hold the data. So we need to have that whole discussion about how we are going to use the data and etc. In the processing part, I think this is a more open discussion. So in our case, for sure, depending on the factories and the sites, there will be a need for that in a more automated or continuous production sites that we have.
Thanks very much. Would you mind if I sent a survey maybe through Bobby to, if you could distribute, that would be really helpful to try to identify the needs, if that's okay.
Definitely,
Perfect.
Joe.
Good.
Definitely.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Okay, folks, any other questions? So before we move on to our final speaker of today, which is Luis Alejandro Verga from Odis. Sorry about my pronunciation. Welcome, Alejandro.
Right. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here. Stefan, nice to see you. It's been a while. Very happy to be here. Before I start, there's no silver bullet in any of these things. You also have to play it by heart and see what works and what doesn't. I'm going to tell you my experience. Might be applicable to you, might not, but there's no really a logic behind it. You know, there's many theories over there, and you have to see what adapts to you. So a bit of context. I'm not Irish, as you can tell, either. I am from Ecuador and I lived in Ireland between 2019 and 2023. I was doing my PhD over there and I spin out a startup that was called Carbon Harvesters at that time. And now it is called Odos. Basically what we do is that we help livestock and agriculture companies to achieve their climate goals. The spin out was founded in December of 2020. And it was not really a full-time job for a while because I had another stuff on my plate, like the PhD. But now it is, and we started putting flat on it, my co-founder and myself, in 2023. 2023 was a good year, but especially 2024 was a great year in terms of revenue and overall market share. That allowed us to do an investment round of 680,000 that was done by the end of last year. So that was the initial investment round, and it's the only one that we have done. So what I'm going to tell you is, and I'm basically going to show you the presentation that I shared to many investors last year, at least 10 or 15. 10 or 15 is a very low number. We were lucky. Probably you're going to have to talk and to pitch with 50, 100 investors, but we'll be addressing what I showed. First of all, before you start pitching and before you jump into it, know your audience. If you are going to be talking with, in my case, experts of environmental engineering or experts of biodiversity, I can use complex terms. I can be like life cycle assessment or natural capital accounting or ecosystem services. But if they are lawyers or if they are people in economics, all of the respect to those professions, of course, but I'm not going to use complex terms. So know your audience and then relax. If someone is listening to you, it's because you have something interesting to say. No one is really putting their time just listening for the sake of it. So if you're in front of an investor or if you're in front of anyone that you can pitch, they are here because they know that you have something to be said. In your expertise, in your topic, you are 1% of the 1% in terms of knowledge. So always build up that confidence. Don't get cocky because there's a lot of stuff to learn and you always have to be open to it, but understand that you are there for a reason. So relax, and your life does not depend on this. Be chill, know your product, know your stuff, practice. But no one is going to make a life or death decision because of 5 minutes. And if it is going to another meeting, if it is happening for a third or fourth time, it's because of something. But honestly, how you say it and how you communicate it is a big part of it. It's a small part of it, sorry. Big part is your product, your understanding of the market and these things. What you do before is what counts, not what you are going to do it over those next 5 minutes. That is not really going to do the job. So your life does not depend on this. You have already done the job. How you show it is just adding a little bit of value and then relax and especially know your audience. First of all, very important and key, I'm showing you the actual slides, is to know your problem. So in our case is that there is a new law of the European Union, Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, but also supermarkets that are placing a lot of pressure on suppliers so that they monitor and reduce their environmental impacts like carbon or biodiversity. But these companies, especially in this industry, have not been historically measuring this because they lack the data. They do not know how to do life cycle assessment models. Biodiversity is very complex to monitor. And all of a sudden, they have huge pressure coming from the supermarkets, right? So they need to take action. Understand your problem and communicate it from slide 1 and translate this into your investor. Realize that the investor, it's seeing stuff like environmental engineering, and after 10 minutes is going to see things of neurosciences, and after 10 minutes is going to see something of civil engineering, and then something of education. You know, you're talking about people that are seeing things very holistically in some cases. So translate the problem very clear with numbers, ideally. I always like numbers, so that they know that you are aware of it and something that is topical, that is happening. I am not solving how people buy bread in a bakery, you know, something innovative and that is topical over there. And everything being said in a way that they can understand. Show your solution in an easy way. Don't be overcomplicating it. You know, if you are making pizza, you say, okay, I'm selling pizza. It's not like I am making a product that comes from the mixture of flour plus water, and then we put it into an oven that is a furnace that is, no. Make it very simple and translate it very clear. And that comes from the audience side. If you think that is going to add value to be a bit more granular, go for it. But if not, make it very simple and very quick for the person to understand. The product is important, your solution is important, but the thing that investors are looking for is the understanding of the problem and the understanding of the direction of travel, not so much the product, you know, so present it in an easy way. What we do is basically monitoring all of the environmental impacts that these companies need to report for their customers and also for the European Union. And we develop climate mitigation strategies based on that data so that they can act on it. Then the product, in the product and going more in depth, making it very clear, not putting a lot of text, very simple. How are you solving this? And in a clear way, ideally with visuals and ideally with numbers as well. Validate what you are doing. And especially, this is your baby. These 2 minutes when you're talking about this, you have to enjoy it so much because this is everything that you have been working on. So enjoy it. Being on stage and talking to people that are going to give you feedback or ask you about it is a pleasure. Is not a pain. You are reaching this because of these slides. So, you know, enjoy it and people will notice this. Beyond the product, you need to show that you are understanding who is going to buy this, which industry is really going to be looking for your solution, what is the size of the market, and so forth. So this is relatively very difficult to do at a granular academic level of being 99% precise, you know, because who knows what is the market share of something? Like, how can you tell it to the number of being specific? But do your research, make estimations, and be ready to back up those estimations. Okay, why is your service available market 777 million? Because there's 700 companies that are having this paying, and the value of each of these would be X amount of euros. So have all of that logic really on top of your mind so that you are ready to answer these things, and have the literature or have the research so that you can back it up. They definitely want to see this because it's, of course, the growth. Like, you are solving this for one customer, but can you solve it for many people? What differentiated us from day one, and is something that is very, very logic, and you would think that it is not a differentiator, is that we made more than €1 when we were looking for investment. That is already a definitive factor for investors. Are they investing in something that is not being sold yet, or are they selling into something that is being sold? Do pilots, show the validation, show that you have done customer discovery in understanding the problem, but that also that you have been piloted with companies or something like this. People are very against doing things for free. If you have to do a very tiny thing for free, but putting a logo over there, that is already going to give you the validation that you require. But show that you are not really behind your laptop reading things and assuming that the market is going to be there. Show that you are talking to people, that you are seeing that this is going to work, that you are not falling in love with your solution, but that you are falling in love with the problem, and that you are learning all of the time, and that you are talking with people all of the time. That is the most important thing to do. These validations and these pilots, these are things that have to be very simple. When working on solutions, I think that people tend to make the mistake of, okay, I'm going to take 2 years of my life and I'm going to spend a lot of money into making my solution super good and 100% bulletproof, and it's going to be amazing, and then I'm going to commercialize it. No, because maybe in 2 years you realize I spent so much time into this, but no one is going to buy it. So do something very quick, very quick, very awful. In my case was, I had an Excel with 40 different tabs that were used to make a carbon footprint. And I started piloting. It was awful, the results I was showing through PowerPoint. But someone liked it and someone was willing to pay for it. Not a large amount, but that allowed me to finance the development and hire a software developer that takes things at the scale. So develop very quick. The most famous acronym that there is in the startup environment, an MVP, not most valuable player, but minimum valuable product, could be most valuable player at the same time as well. Develop the minimum valuable product and go for it, test it, and talk to people. Even if they are not buying, talk. Pick up the phone. People love startups, no one wants to talk with a super big conglomerate that is going to sell them something that is super expensive. People want to talk with, people that have something innovative to say, or that they are doing research, not for selling. Calling, let's say, Carvery, or calling another company. It's different when you tell them, I want to sell you something for 10,000 euros, than telling them, hey, 15 minutes, like I want to understand a bit more about the problem that you are having. And understand. And people like to talk with startups. People are open to talking. People love to talk, so be ready to listen to them. In that case, there is a fantastic book, very short. You can read it in 2 or 3 hours. Very simple, and there's a lot of literature, but the one that you are understanding the problem, be sure that you are asking the questions properly. My connection seems to be unstable, but you guys can hear me.
Yeah, just maybe about 30 seconds ago, Alejandro, we just lost you for about 10 seconds, just as you were on about the book.
Yeah, the book is called The Mom Test. I'm turning off my camera. The book is called The Mom Test, for understanding how to have this conversation. At the end, you are not going to sell in the discovery, but you want to understand. And there's a way of framing questions that allows you to understand things and get the answer that you want. Show traction, even if you're going from €1 to €2 to €3, show traction, show the stuff is happening, that is important, and show a growth plan. You want X amount of money because you need to hire X amount of people, or you need this machinery, or so forth, so on. And of course, and what a lot of people are going to focus, what differentiates you? Where are the most important verticals where you can differentiate yourself? Why is your product better than the other one? Why is it not better? But understand your competition so good, so good, because this is something that the investors are going to look. A big part of being an entrepreneur is developing things, developing new products, but mostly is understanding the context. So definitely to put a focus on this. And I'm also repairing a lot of stuff that was said as well. If you are a very early stage, investors are not investing in the technology. They are not doing it because of the technology. In most of the cases, they are not doing it because of the main problem or what is coming. They are doing it because of you. So show your credentials, show that you are there, show all of your team, show who you are. As individuals. At the end, everything is about trust. They are going to give you money because they think that you can multiply that money times 7. That is not going to be because of the technology or anything like this. It's because of who you are as an individual. So show that confidence, but also show your insecurities, show your challenges. There is not really any issue. Like Lisa was saying, if they ask you something, say, if you don't know, say, I don't know. Be honest about it, be transparent about it. So yeah, but be very clear about it and be open be open, and be relaxed, but also
Just seemed to lost you there, Alejandro.
I was done as well. Okay. Thank you so much. Sorry about the connection.
No problem, Alejandro. Thank you very much. Very good. So, guys, any question? We have about 5 minutes for Alejandro. So, I guess summarize for myself, summarizing the three guest speakers, and please come in and correct me. So, prepare, and I guess not just a desktop preparation, but also get out there, do your market research, show them that you're getting out there. Be confident, but not overconfident. Know your audience, know your product. Don't overcomplicate explanations, make it clear, simple, and be honest and transparent. So they're kind of the key points I took out from the three speakers. Maybe I left out another important one. That's what I grasped. So any question, folks, for Alejandro? Niels, how are you?
Thanks again, Alejandro. Great presentation. Your passion comes across anyway, even when you're talking about pitching. The one question I have is, I guess lots of companies have problems, but at what point did you know that the problems you had identified had a real commercial need that companies would pay for a solution?
Yeah. Awesome question. Thanks, Niels. So when I was doing my PhD, a company comes and tells me, hey, what you're developing for one farm would be useful for 1,000 farms. I start getting into some EIT food competitions and overall understanding if there was a business. And they give me funding so that I travel. So I came for 1 week to Spain, and I went for 1 week to the Netherlands. And during those 2 weeks, I met probably like 10 or 12 different companies by reaching out before. And I talked to those 10 or 12 different companies in person. Then I came back to Ireland and I called and sent a lot of emails. That is the good thing of being on a cluster like EIT, because they can connect you with different companies.
Yeah.
They are going to reply to you. And I asked about the problem, like, is this something that you're having, or is this something that you're going to have in the future? And 99% of the companies said yes. So I was like, okay, there's no.
Yeah. So it was that engaging and verifying with the kind of boots on.
It's customer discovery. It's customer discovery, and as mentioned, how the questions are asked, and getting there, Niels. But yeah.
Okay, great, thanks.
Alejandro, you mentioned the book, a very short book. I didn't get the name. What was the name again?
Apologies, I'm going to put it on the chat. It's called The Mom Test.
Okay, good stuff. Yeah. Oh, The Mom Test.
There is
there is
a PDF around it. I can send it, but GDPR, but it's easy to get.
Yeah, very good. Great stuff. Okay, so folks, one other chance to ask a question before we do a close out. Anyone else want to pop in? Okay, no. Okay, folks, so look, that brings us to the end of today's webinar. So a huge thank you to our three speakers, Lisa, Adriana, and Alejandro, for sharing their insights and experience. Three fantastic presentations. So look, we hope you gain valuable insights into crafting a stronger pitch and feeling more confident about engaging with investors going forward. So look, just a couple of points before we wrap up, right? Our next masterclass, The Art of Pitching to Investors Part 2, so it's a carry on from this, is on April the 2nd. So it's at the same time between 12 and 1 p.m. And we'll be sending out a communication with some registration details in the next day or so. You can follow our project, our AgriFood Connect project, on LinkedIn, and we also have a web page, and we'll provide those in the little chat forum there as well. And one final thing, I guess this was the first of, as I said, of 4 webinars we're holding going forward, and we want to try and improve the delivery of the way we organize these and so on. So we have a very short little questionnaire, 5 very short questions that we'll post to you there in the chat forum. So if you wouldn't mind taking literally 2 minutes of your time just to fill that in, we'd really appreciate it. So look, thanks again for joining us, and we really look forward to seeing you at our next webinar in April. Thanks, everyone.